September 22nd, 2025. Our first item to consider is the approval of the minutes from the August 11th, 2025 meeting. Councilor Woods.
Move approval of the minutes.
All right. Second, all in favor say aye. Aye. The minutes are approved. Our applicants aren't here yet, so we're going to come back to those. So we're going to take item number 6 first. This is the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Birmingham and the BJCTA for microtransit expansion. Ms. Argo, you're up. We're going out of order. So.
Are we discussing which item?
Item 6,
Item 6.
yes.
Which one's that?
Microtransit expansion.
Okay, sorry, I apologize, we're having a conversation. I'm Christina Argo, and I serve as Deputy Director in the Department of Transportation. I'm here today to discuss the microtransit contract transition. Just to kind of start at the beginning, we have piloted microtransit here in the city, started in 2019 as a pilot. We've seen it grow over the last 6 years, and it's become an integral part of our transportation budget. So just to kind of remind everybody, the city as a whole is putting $14 million into our fixed route bus service and $2.5 million into the microtransit service. So that gives us a total budget of $16.5 million total. So are we showing slides, or do you guys have slides? We don't have any slides. Could we, do y'all have extra copies of the handout? Let's do that. So, in thinking about how our public transportation system is managed, there's really 2 key reasons why we would want to transition the management of VIA over to the BJCTA. And one is that they're eligible to receive federal transportation dollars from the FTA back for every mile of public transportation service they provide. And we, operating the service, from the city, we're not eligible for those, for that money back. And then it really makes for a more coordinated system. They're able to coordinate with the fixed route bus service more effectively. They have the capacity to do that, and they have access to all the data. So let me remind you guys, if you look at page number 2 of where VIA is currently operating, for $2.5 billion budget, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Our monthly ridership is around 14,000 rides. You see the map of the service area there. And if you go to slide number, or page number 3, you can see how demand has grown. I mentioned that earlier. We're over 500,000 rides, unique rides from the beginning of service, which really puts us in one of the top tiers of service when it comes to microtransit across the country. And I'll pause there and take any questions you may have.
Sure. So does this only cover the downtown area, the zone, downtown zone, microtransit zone?
So we refer to this zone as the downtown zone. We still have the east area, and so the eastern zone is still being covered.
Okay, so the agreement would cover both, right?
That's right.
And as I understand it, BJCTA is currently operating the Eastern Area Zone.
That's right. So
Okay.
that's part of our, part of the budget, our spend with BJCTA.
Okay, so separately, BJCTA has had a on-demand microtransit contract with VIA that is a different zone. It's an expanded zone, covering more territory, and also extended hours. So how does all of that integrate? What's the end product that the riding public ends up with?
It's essentially the same as it is today. This is essentially just a transferring of paperwork, of a contract, if you will. So the in-rider service remains seamless. It's one app that you continue to use. BJCTA, I believe, is operating their own vans, but utilizing VIA's software. So it's a seamless experience.
Hello. Again, I'm James Fowler. I serve as the Director of the City's Department of Transportation. So to answer your question, so right now the city pays for a service, and what we've mapped out here is that core service. And then the Transit Authority also, just within their budget, is providing some additional service. So when this transfers over, all of that will be consolidated, which will make a lot of this a lot less confusing, which I think is really helpful. That's one of the reasons that this makes a lot of sense. However, I do want to go back to the original budget slide. So, so the city pays $14 million for fixed route service. And then last year and this year, we're paying $2.5 million for microtransit service. So as we know, so those allocations are staying the same across fiscal years. So from fiscal year 25 to what we're in now, which is fiscal year 26, those numbers are the same. But we do know that labor costs go up and material costs go up. And so we will, at some point this year, have to look at the service and try to identify some efficiencies where we can kind of make up that difference where the cost has gone up, but the budget has stayed the same. A couple of those places where we anticipate looking, so I'm going to go to this slide. One, the ridership continues to go up and up and up and up and up. The demand continues to go up. For us to keep up with that demand, we would have to increase the service, which we can't afford to do. So one of the changes that we anticipate making starting January of 26 is increasing the fare from $1.50 per ride to $2.50 per ride. That won't necessarily generate more operating budget because that's such a small portion of the overall cost of the program, but what it will do is help to kind of dampen some of that increase in demand. So it'll help kind of level off the demand a little bit. So that's a critical step. If we didn't do that, if we continued to try to offer rides at $1.50 while the demand increased, what that would result in are a lot more dropped rides or refused rides where you try to log on to the app and get a ride, but it tells you you can't do that. So that's the reason to go from $1.50 to $2.50 is to try to kind of level off that demand curve a little bit. The other anticipated change is we will probably have to drop Saturday service in order to maintain the service within the budget. So we would have to drop Saturday service. At first, on October 1st, we don't anticipate making these changes. The Transit Authority will have to go through a 30-day notification period to notify the public of those changes, and so we'll do that. We will, during the course of the 12 months of FY26, which is their FY26, probably have to consider some other service adjustments to stay within that budget, but those are being kind of designed right now and to try to determine exactly what those are. But this core service that the city pays for and funds, which is kind of this downtown service, that is anticipated to remain the same.
Okay. So there are other variables with VIA that can be potentially adjusted, and that's one of the main ones is response time. So from the time that the request for a ride comes in to the targeted time to actually for the van to arrive curbside for that customer. Would that be maintained level as it is currently?
I don't know that we're currently discussing changing the response time. And Julius, I don't know if you want to come and explain that. But before he speaks to response time specifically, one of the things that we've learned in our pilot of operating the VIA microtransit service is that there are a wide range of variables that can be tweaked and adjusted. There are different levers you can kind of pull to get different service results, which is one of the reasons why this has been kind of a complex service to manage in coordination with the Transit Authority. Not because they're not good partners, they're just a different agency, and we're managing one service that is supposed to dovetail with another service, which is their buses. So the main thing we're trying to accomplish here is to get the service transferred so that they can recoup federal funding for it, and we can better coordinate on all of those variables. I don't know, Julius, do you want to speak about response time?
I'm Julius Bryant, Partner Success at VIA. So we have right now about a 12-minute ETA time in general for rides in Birmingham. That's right about where we would want it. Generally, if you see ETAs that are higher than 12 minutes, you start to see overall long-term impact as it relates to ride requests. So we're right at that 12-minute mark where we like it. So as of now, we've not considered any adjustments to ETAs.
Okay, another variable is the amount of distance that you're asking the customer to walk to the pickup point. Is that going to be maintained the same?
Yeah, that would be the same. So currently, the allowed walk distance is, I think, about 350 meters. So that will remain the same as well.
Okay. My next question is that BJCTA would be responsible for management and I would assume at some point operations also. I mean, it's my understanding that BJCTA doesn't currently have enough vehicles to be able to operate the service with, differently than, so what we've been doing is the turnkey service that VIA offers. So some of the cost savings, I mean, another argument for partnering with BJCTA to operate on-demand microtransit is the potential cost savings versus the turnkey solution that comes directly from VIA and is more expensive. So is there an estimate on how much runway BJCTA needs in order to stand up a operations for on-demand microtransit internally?
So in some respects, they are running that service internally today. Let me double check that. They are. So the East Zone, for example, they are staffing the drivers and providing the vehicles with use of the VIA software. So one of the reasons why they went ahead and started providing that service is just so they could start kind of building that experience and building that machinery behind the scenes to allow them to do that. What's expected here, under this transfer agreement, is the services that are shown here would stay with VIA as that kind of turnkey service for FY '26. And then after that, if they choose to maneuver that in a different direction, they can. So this service would stay directly with VIA. In addition to that, the Eastern service and then any other kind of supplemental service that they choose to provide, they may well provide that just in-house with their own staffing and infrastructure.
Okay. Well, one of the things, other reasons why I asked that is because, with the potential of cutting Saturday service, if there's some cost savings in BJCTA operating the service in-house, maybe that could offset the cost of the Saturday service. I don't know. But I'd definitely be interested in what the ridership looks like currently on Saturdays and, how that's trending and, what potential loss of that, how that potential cut in service might impact residents. So in any case, similar to our other agreement with BJCTA, I see that there's a reporting requirement in here in the contract, so that's good. And it also covers the strategic plan. And as we've talked about recently, I would assume that the app that's being developed would also integrate, instead of going to the VIA app separately, once the app is ready in January of next year, you'll just go one place, one app.
That's correct, and I might invite Director Shaw to come up, just talk about the app real quick, if you'll have a second.
Sure.
But before we do that, I'd mentioned that in order to fit the service neatly within the budget that we have, we'll probably have to revisit the service as a whole during FY '26. So my recommendation would be, and I think this is what we would do anyways, but we'll have them and us come back to one of these committee meetings in the next few months and kind of present those different variables that we want to look at tweaking and adjusting to, so that we are choosing variables that we kind of all agree with and are comfortable with.
Okay.
Good afternoon. So the app will include VIA. We're working on an API, right, Julius? So that app will include that.
All right, great. Council Woods, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I guess one, you kind of talked about some changes like related to like the price and some other variables. Would be interested in kind of the underlying data that you have that kind of leads you to kind of see where you're bumping up against the ceiling. I guess what you could share as far as that goes, so we can kind of have a better viewpoint as to kind of why those adjustments were necessary. As well as, I don't know if you've run, different calculations to see what it might take to expand the service, or I know in the past we've talked about premium services, if you wanted to go further, being able to pay, effectively mixing in like a level of market rate if you wanted to go outside the zone for some reason. But I can't remember what we called it, but it was effectively a premium option that would allow you to pay the difference. So one, underlying data that kind of lets you know that you need to increase the price, and then two, what other opportunities there might be to kind of expand the services.
Yep, great questions. So the first one, we have to rely a little bit on VIA to give us a sense of what they've seen in other markets with how responsive markets are to price changes. So they do have some opinions about that. We felt like in working with them that $2.50 was very reasonable. And when you start to suggest prices like $5 per ride, then I think they start to get squeamish and feel like that's kind of unhealthy for the ecosystem we're trying to create. But so part of it is informed by their experience in other markets, and they can certainly speak to that some more if needed. The other data, though, is this demand curve, which just since we started the service, I mean, it very consistently just continues to go up. One of the things that's, I'd say, confusing about microtransit service is that, normally as demand goes up, that is a very good thing. But with microtransit service, as demand goes up, that means we, in order to keep up with that demand, have to provide more vans and more staff. So we have to increase our supply along with it. And so that's why this is probably the biggest reason why we feel that we can't keep the price at $1.50 is just because the demand keeps stripping out the supply or outstripping the supply that we're able to provide and service. So we have to, I think, do something to help slow down the increase in demand just because we can't keep up with it at the current budget. Well, I'll pause there. So, you asked about actually the potential for expanding the service, and I think probably in our follow-up discussion about how to adjust the service, maybe we can bring back a couple of scenarios for how that might look if the budget were adjusted for it. And I'm not necessarily recommending that, but we can at least provide that option for visibility. I do think, though, that we have learned a lot about microtransit and where it fits in relationship to fixed route, so the bus system. The microtransit, and it just on its own, is in a sense kind of a premium option because for $1.50, the van comes pretty much on demand and pretty close to your door, within a reasonable amount of time, as opposed to especially in our lower density areas, there might have been a bus that came by every hour and an hour and a half, and it might have been very far away that you would have to then walk, a distance where there may or may not be sidewalks. So the service itself is actually a little bit of a premium service, which is nice, and we have learned a good bit about where it kind of makes sense to offer that service, which is, it seems to make sense most in some of our lower density areas where it's really impractical to provide good bus service. That's where are some cost efficiencies and service efficiencies at providing microtransit instead. So.
Oh, yeah, I'll circle back on the premium piece, but specifically to like that dollar increase, just rough math, just say generate another $500,000. Are we experiencing like a ceiling where we are not able to provide all the service we want to, or is this something just looking down the road to prevent that, like in terms of the increase?
I don't know that we're experiencing a ceiling necessarily. I think we have a set budget at $16.5 million for public transportation. And so now we're trying to maneuver the variables to fit within that budget. And so that's what kind of where all these recommendations accumulated come in.
But I guess in terms of the pricing and things like that, that would be something for the BJCTA to determine. Like there's nothing in here where we're setting the price or giving guidance on that, or do we have to be agreeable to it?
I would have to go back to what the enabling legislation is between the City of Birmingham and the BJCTA, and I kind of forget the specifics in terms of what we're allowed to dictate or not dictate. My experience has been that whenever they want to make changes, we collaboratively sit down together and kind of work through those. So I would expect that to be the same here.
Okay. All right, that's my last question. I will just add that since I see my fearless BJCTA lead over there, I do remember her saying that she had some increased efficiencies in the similar services they were delivering. So we'll circle back on that in the future.
Yeah, one thing I would recommend that we include is under Section 2, I would really like to see, like, you know, the zones be included as an exhibit. I mean, there's nothing in here that says, all right, BJCTA is going to operate microtransit in the downtown zone. Here's what that zone looks like. They're going to operate in the eastern area zone. Here's what that zone looks like. There's nothing that says that we're going to maintain the 12-minute response time. There's nothing that says that the walk distance is going to be 350 meters. Those are all variables that matter very much to us. And, I think we want, it says in here, no material changes shall be made to the microtransit services during the term of this agreement. However, it doesn't say in here exactly what the service looks like. So something that describes what the service is that BJCTA is going to be operating, sort of establishes a baseline of expectations.
Great question. Let me take a shot at it first. Let me see. So when our budget stayed the same from 16.5 million last year to 16.5 million this year, they won't be able to maintain the exact service. So we will have to make some adjustments to some of those variables. Now, ideally, we'll have to do that cooperatively and kind of understand that. And the second thing, though, is one, they can't maintain the exact service they're providing today, but two, I think we want to allow some flexibility for them to make some of those adjustments throughout the year. And I don't know that we want to pin them down on every variable. I mean, that's, I guess, one of the reasons in theory why we have a transit authority is so that they can kind of be in the weeds day to day, manage some of those things. So I don't know if you want to add anything.
I understand that, but the issue is that, I think there's, at the outset, there's a baseline expectation of what services we're agreeing to. And there's nothing in this agreement that says what the baseline expectation of the services that we're agreeing to. So, what I don't want to have happen is that, we have sort of a model operating now, and, we drift away from that over time. Now, and it says in here, no material changes shall be made to the microtransit services during the term of this agreement. Well, there's nothing in this agreement, again, that describes what the services are other than just a microtransit, on-demand microtransit service. So, the details of the zones, the estimated time of arrival, the walk distance, the number of vehicles that are operating in a zone, the number of wheelchair accessible vehicles that are operating in each zone, those are all things that, are variables that add up to the service that, these over 500,000 riders a year have come to expect.
Yeah.
So let me say, there are standards and then there are variables. Standards are the things that we have to work by with microtransit. We have to have so many vehicles that are ADA compliant. That's what we have to do as a transit agency, and that's what we require of VIA. Now, what we don't want to do is tie us to the wait time, because we may be able to increase the service if we just increase the wait time. There are a lot of things that go into making decisions around scheduling and around microtransit. So if we have to go up to 15 minutes and get 10 more people, we need to be able to have that type of flexibility, right? And so, and also, as part of the transit agency now, we can best determine where the VIA services might work even greater as we grow the microtransit operations with BJCTA. So we might find that later it's best to fit them in Birmingham, in the north side of Birmingham. I think as long as we stay within the budget, which is $2.5 million, it will help us be able to make those kinds of decisions as we see the trend when the service comes over, to do what's best for the system and not look at what we've done, but what we can do better.
I hear you. You know, I know my colleagues, and, you know, my colleagues are going to be interested in, you know, what exactly are we paying for? And so, you know, I'm not the one to take the stance that, you know, there's an assumed mutual understanding of what the service is. You know, I think it's always best to have your expectations written and included in the agreement, so that, you know, there is that baseline understanding, you know, and we can get into, you know, standards versus variables. And I understand the need for flexibility. I would say, you know, that we could easily, you know, come back and modify the agreement, you know, at any point in the future. We do that often. But in any case, I hear you. I want you to hear me. And I'm speaking on behalf of some of my colleagues too. So.
Yeah, I just, you know, there's a way that the system works, and we work very closely with the Department of Transportation at the City of Birmingham, and we don't usually, even on the BJCTA services, we coordinate that to ensure that the partnership is there and they understand what we're doing. What I want to recommend is that we get the system, we keep it the same, and as we learn more about the progress of the system as a whole, and as we bring on more zones, that we are given that latitude to see where best to fit VIA, as long as it's within the $2.5 million. And we work by the same standards, and actually our wait times are less on the BJCTA side because we run more vehicles now. Mm-hmm. But I think the latitude to be able to make the system great in the best interest of the city as a whole is what we want to make sure that we communicate. And we're not going to change anything that's going to make the system suffer, because that wouldn't be efficient for us as an organization.
Okay. So while you're at the lectern, you guys have your own zone and you have different hours than the City of Birmingham service. So will BJCTA maintain your on-demand microtransit services as you have?
So we did not get funded in this go-round for anything for BJCTA, and which means now that we're getting VIA with the downtown service, we are going to have to eliminate the nighttime service to 11 o'clock because we just don't have the budget to continue that service. But that does not impact the $2.5 million for the daytime services for VIA. But we will have to cut our nighttime service.
Okay.
We just did not get funded for that.
All right. I know a lot of the nightlife folks are going to really miss that.
Yeah, that's not something we want to do. We would like to continue that service, and we're trying to have some additional conversations now with Chief Mitchell and the mayor to talk about maybe what we can do in the midterm. But for right now, we're looking to eliminate that service. And that's a BJCTA service.
Okay.
So who's operating the eastern zone presently?
We're keeping the eastern zone at the same hours. We're doing that right now. That's all BJCTA.
Okay, so when you say y'all at BJCTA is eliminating their portion, you're solely talking about
The 7 to 11 PM services, the
What zone
evening
is that?
services downtown.
downtown?
We started that service about a year ago because we wanted to partner with VIA ourselves and to learn and use their software. So it was kind of a pilot, but the pilot worked out really well. Unfortunately, though, we just cannot keep that service due to lack of budget.
Would be interested in like who was using that service at that time.
It's downtown zone. We can get you a copy of that zone. I think it was actually the same downtown service. We just extended it from 7 to 11.
Okay.
Your service ended at 7. So we picked up the service from 7 to 11.
And it included some of our entertainment districts too.
We included
right?
the entertainment district as well, which is up for elimination as too.
Right, I think 41st Street
Yeah.
Was one of
Those
the
are
more
the service-
popular
Yes, sir.
areas.
Well, that's kind of what I'm asking. Are you seeing more of a spike in the entertainment spaces?
No, not really. It's about the same. The nighttime services grew quite a
That's what I
bit.
mean, at night.
But the entertainment section, and do you have those numbers, Nick? Now bring Dr. Tidy up, who has those numbers, and we can give you those numbers right now. But I know the nighttime service, like President O'Quinn said, was a service that took off very well. Even I use that service at night, so I'd like to see it continue, but we unfortunately just did not get that as part of the budget.
What was the price tag? Because I don't remember that conversation coming up. Was probably these items should probably go together with the overall BJCTA agreement. But what roughly was the price tag associated with that service?
Well, we actually submitted our microtransit budget for 3.5, but we only got the 2.5. And we pay an additional $700,000 for that service at night,
And
and for the entertainment section.
And that service, those extended hours, what was, BJCTA was paying $700,000
That's right.
annually for that?
Yes.
And where did that funding come from? Did it come out of your own internal budget or?
Came out of our own internal operational budget.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I can do that. Good afternoon. So the nighttime service for the downtown, we saw 15% of our ridership was in that nighttime zone. So only 15% of the total ridership was the nighttime. And what we saw was from the hours of 7 to 8 p.m. was the beginning of the first drop in that hour. It's a lot easier if I can present this. The total ridership in that hour was less than any other hour in the normal daytime zone. So what we see from 7 p.m. onwards is a ridership decreasing by hour. And so you can see a continuous decrease from 7 p.m. down to the final hour of 10 to 11 p.m. So that sort of gave a understanding of the ridership that we saw in the nighttime zone. Yes, so for Lakeville View, we certainly see some ridership in that area. However, compared with other areas within the zone we have, it isn't the highest area of ridership that we have. And that's due to a couple of reasons. In the Lakeview area where we run, we have, I believe, 3 routes that actually go through that, whereas in other areas you'd see high ridership because we don't have a fixed route service in a nearer vicinity to that area.
Oh, yeah, I was hearing it the other way around, so, thank you.
Okay. Any suggestions on how we handle this, Council Woods? I mean, I do think that, you know, there's going to be some interest from the council in having some sort of description of the service included in the contract. So if you guys are open to making some tweaks, you know, we can move on to a recommendation.
We'll see if we can provide an exhibit that shows kind of a minimum service. But I do feel like we're maybe stuck a little bit between a rock and a hard place. We know that with the budget of 16.5 million, we cannot keep the service exactly as it is. At the same time, we're up against a kind of a schedule deadline where we need to transition the VIA service over to the Transit Authority in their new fiscal year, which is October 1st. And so I guess there's a couple of-
So let me offer a suggestion. Let's, as opposed to having a map, let's offer, you know, a verbal description and use the words not less than, you know, so let's describe the area and, you know, so the service area shall not be less than, you know, however many square miles or whatever unit of measure you want to use for that, and response time not less than 15 minutes or, you know, so just if you know, put it a text description that may meet, you know, what the council's expectations would be. And, you know, you can just generally describe the areas of operation using, you know, again, the unit of measure service area.
I think we can do that. I'm going to bring up I guess a thought here that is something that we wanted to look at over the next 12 months. Right now, one of the areas where we're paying for a lot of service is in our downtown area, but we're also paying for a lot of fixed route bus service. And so where microtransit seems to make sense is in those lower density areas where we can't service those well. And so one of the changes that we wanted to explore in our scenarios was reducing service in the downtown area so that we could provide it where it makes the most sense and kind of be most efficient with our overall budget.
I'm following you. So I'm not telling you to describe exactly where the service area is. I am just suggesting, you know, the amount of service area. So, you know, $2.5 million should get you however many square miles of on-demand microtransit service. You can divvy that up, you know, however it best suits, you know, the needs of the system.
I think we could do that.
Okay. All right, so with that, with those changes or with those recommendations noted, I would make a motion to advance this agreement to the full council for consideration with the changes that we've discussed included.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, we're done with that. All right, so I want to go back to our item number 3, because our BPD folks are here. So we have 3 new applicants. Number 3 is a application for on-demand towing, and the owner, this is specifically a application for towing and vehicle immobilization. Typically, these go to the Public Safety Committee. We generally don't deal with towing applications in this committee. We're happy to hear it, though.
Okay, Mr. President, on-demand towing, he's met all the qualifications to move forward. Michael Reed.
Is the applicant here, Mr. Reed? Hey. Hey, give us your 30-second pitch here.
Yeah. Basically it's just a towing service, like emergency towing, auto transport, roadside assistance.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
What type of vehicle are you using for towing?
A flatbed tow truck.
Okay. So pretty standard.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And all of his, do you guys typically do like a vehicle inspection with this? Or I'm sure you're checking to make sure he has insurance and all that kind of stuff, all that checks out?
Right now, he does not have a vehicle right now. He's just trying to go through the process.
Okay. All right. But that would be finalized before it gets to the council?
Yes, sir.
All right. Councilor Woods, you got any questions?
Yeah, I move we send this to the full council with a recommendation to approve pending satisfaction of BPD's requirements.
All right, second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Passed. So it'll go to the full council for consideration.
Yes, sir.
All right. Next up, we have a new application for Good Hands Transporter, LLC. And the applicant is Edrelyn Walker.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Good Hands Transporter, LLC, met all the requirements to move forward.
All right, is the applicant here? Hey, Ms. Walker, tell us about what you're doing.
Hi, my name is Adrian Walker Smith, and I'm the owner of Good Hands
Put the mic
Transport,
down.
where I'll be doing non-emergency medical transport, taking passengers to the doctor, clinics, and hospital.
Okay, and all of her insurance and everything checks out?
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
All right. Councilor Woods, you got any questions?
No, sir. Move we send this to full council with a recommendation to approve.
All right, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That is approved and will go to the full council.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have item number 5, that's Fancy Transportation. Owner is LaErica Harris. Is the applicant here? The applicant's not here. So, Detective, is all of their paperwork check out?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Fancy Transportation has met all the requirements to move forward.
Okay. I move we still send this to the full council for consideration. All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. So that is approved, and we'll move forward to the council. So now we're back to item 7, the Birmingham Transportation Capital Investment Plan.
Hello again. Christina Argo, and serve as Deputy Director with the Department of Transportation. promise you, the next time I come before you to talk about this plan, we're going to have a better name. This is, just to refresh y'all's memory, this is the Reconnecting Communities Planning Grant. We were awarded $800,000 from USDOT. The city is committed to put in $100,000, and then we're partnered with BJCTA to put in, for them to partner with us for another $100,000. And this is basically, we've already begun the work. We're already collaborating and working on our schedule of events and deadlines. Over the next year, we'll have a multimodal transportation plan produced for the city.
Okay, so this only covers 16th Street, 4th Avenue, Graymont. I mean, tell us what the project is.
So
Because
this
the name
is,
sounds like it's basically the capital improvements plan for transportation for
That's
the
right.
entire city, but that's not what
Citywide.
it is.
no, this is what it is.
Oh, it
Yes. This is our comprehensive multimodal transportation plan, separate from Crossroads, 4th Avenue, all of that. So this is, we're devoting $1 million to a planning effort to look at how we, if the city truly wants to be a multimodal city, what are the steps that we need to take in the next 5 years, the next 10 years, next 15 years, as it relates to prioritizing different corridors for public transit, policy decisions, all those things that go into making a multimodal city. Those are the things that we're exploring over the next year.
So we've received the grant or we're applying for it?
We've already received the grant, and we've already moved forward with setting up the accounts and issuing the PO. Now we just need to account for BJCTA's portion. So they agreed and committed to $100,000, and so we're just putting that in writing, and we'll be able to receive their portion of their match.
So this is a planning grant to determine what the capital investment plan should be?
That's right. It's going to
Okay.
determine a lot more things, but we will have a list of prioritized projects that come out of this plan.
Okay, so this doesn't turn any dirt, pour any concrete,
Does not.
bend any rebar?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's gonna
Doesn't buy
help
any
us-
buses?
It's going to help us do all those things.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, all right.
And we have some exciting announcements coming up soon related to the plan. We've already hit the ground running with our consulting team, and so you guys will be getting more information soon.
Council Woods?
What's the funding source?
So $800,000 is grant funded, so it's
I mean, the match.
and the funding source for the match. That's a good question. Do I have anybody here who can answer that? Not for you guys, for city's match. I can find out.
Yeah, I'm assuming BJCTA is paying half the match.
So this agreement only covers the agreement between the city and the BJCTA for that $100,000.
That's right.
Okay, got it. It basically says BJCTA is going to help by contributing $100,000, and, this is what we hope to accomplish.
That's right. We're just firming things up.
Yeah.
The work has
gotcha.
already begun.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion that we recommend to the full council for approval.
So did we already commit our half of this match? I think we already committed it.
What was,
Has the
I believe
the
we are-
city's portion of the local match already been
It's already been-
allocated?
it
I
has.
think it did, yeah.
We already have a PO and an account and everything set up.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, second.
All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. So that's approved, and we'll go to the full council.
Thank you.
Item number 8 is a update from BJCTA.
Good afternoon. My name is Tavares Foster, and I serve as the Senior Director of Customer Experience at Mass Transit, and I'm joined by my colleague, Ms. Morgan Malden, who serves as planner at BJCTA. And we're here just to discuss a few updates that are coming in October, beginning October the 27th. These updates will make schedules easier to follow, as well as provide more efficient and faster service. So Morgan, she'll come up and talk about those updates that are coming, and then I'll come back and just inform you of how we're notifying the community and spreading the message out. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I just want to make sure I start by saying there are no major changes coming to the system this October. We're mainly focused on enhancing on-time performance, making the schedules more user-friendly, improving the stop spacing, and increasing operator flexibility. And this is all an effort to mitigate some of our challenges, which is confusion around the end of the line. We see on-street parking on a lot of the routes, route length. We see traffic congestion and trains, specifically on routes 40 and the 23 North Birmingham route. And so what we're doing to mitigate these changes is adjusting the schedules. We're changing the end of the line on the 23. We're consolidating stops, and we're modifying time points. And so I really just want to make sure to start with modifying the time points. I'll kind of go down my 3 things that I want to make sure I cover today. So starting with modifying time points, that's referring to 2 routes. The 25 going to Centerpoint, we're taking away time points at First Avenue and 65th Street, Centerpoint Parkway and 23rd Street, and then one of the Woodline Transit Center time points. But we're not removing those stops. The bus is still going to continue to stop at those same places. That just affects it's more of an internal thing, like for the rider or for the operator, it gives them more flexibility because we know that traffic isn't the same all day long. Like traffic patterns change. We have a heavy morning traffic around 8 a.m., 8:30. Everybody's trying to get to work, and we see it again in the evening time.
Let me ask you to define time point.
Yes. Okay. So a time point is a stop, but a stop is not a time point. So essentially, a time point is a stop in the system and is used for scheduling. So basically, when you have so many time points along a route, it defines what time it needs to hit each point, but it's very strict. So if you hit that time point even a few minutes late, it's going to count you as late, and that kind of helps build out our understanding of how long it takes to get to every single stop.
And I think the standard is that you're allowed to be 1 minute early or 5 minutes, up to 5 minutes late. And if you're outside of those times, then it's counted as you didn't show up or the driver didn't show up.
That's right.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
yeah, so each route has a schedule. And one of the things that you guys discussed with me is that you're also eliminating a lot of the underutilized stops, which will give drivers some flexibility as well, because they're not trying to be at the corner of 17th and First Avenue North at 2:18 p.m. And a block down the street, 3 minutes later. So, so the other thing that you talked to me about is also using the elimination of some of those stops and adjusting the schedules to have a more clock-facing schedule. So instead of those, sort of very specific times, like 2:18 PM, you know, 2 o'clock or 2:15 or 2:30. So talk a little bit more about that.
So actually, thank you for leading me into my next
Okay.
point. My next point was actually the stop consolidation. And basically, what we're looking to do is a lot of our stops right now is I'm standing right here, you're standing right there, I can wave at you. You can wave at me. The bus has to stop both times to pick us up. And that's not really helping anybody. When you could just stand at one stop, either I stand with you or you stand with me. And those decisions really come down to a few things. It comes to ridership. It comes to access to key locations. You know, we want to make sure that we still get all of our riders to school. We want to get them to their hospital appointments and other things that are really vital to our communities. We also looked at terrain. So we want to make sure that people aren't walking uphill too far. We want to make sure that it has a nice range. And of course, kind of what we talked about earlier, that really that distance. We want to make sure that nobody's walking more than, well, really anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes. We really want to stay around that 10-minute range is what we're shooting for people to be able to get to. And of course, persons who are not able to, you know, make that walk can apply for paratransit ridership and things of that nature. I want to make sure that I touch on the 23 North Birmingham. So what we experienced was a lot of confusion around the end of the line. The end of the line today is off of 30th Street and 27th Avenue, which is the Maxway, right when you come across the hill or the bridge, I guess. And that doesn't truly reflect the end of the line because the bus actually continues to go further into North Birmingham. And so just changing the end of the line to 37th and 43rd Street will just kind of help eliminate some of that confusion because we see that operators, they're taught to, you know, everybody has to get off at the end of the line and, you know, you're expected to pay again when you get on the bus because the bus is technically going a different direction. And we just see a lot of confusion and just helping to eliminate that would make our passengers' experience more seamless. I do want to make sure I go back and touch on the sample map that you have. So every stop that is going to be consolidated is going to have this map on it that you see in the brochure. And it's going to show you where 2 stops are closest to you.
I don't think that's in our packet, but it's okay.
Hey, somebody said, can you put that back on the screen, whoever's in the back? If you remove a time point, are you're effectively saying the bus doesn't come here at this time anymore?
No, the bus will still come there. Time points are more of an internal thing. They help us to build out the schedule, but it's very rigid. And because it's so rigid, even if, you know, traffic at this time, we can't say, oh, you know, like, you have to be here at this time every single time, but because of traffic and other things, it's not always possible, especially with that. With several of our routes having trains and things on them, it's not always as feasible. So just to give them a little bit more wiggle room to make sure that they can meet it and improve our on-time performance, it helps. But they'll still be able to get to those stops around those same times. It's just internal.
There's no scenario where, you know, the bus is supposed to be here at 2, but they actually came early and picked up at 1:50 and were already gone. Is that?
I'm sorry. No. So the bus still can't get to a stop early. Like they're supposed to wait before they're supposed to. So that is defined by our time points. But the stops that are in between that are not time points, they're not passing by it early because it's outlined through the time points. So the time points builds it out. If that makes sense.
What's the forward-facing equivalent of a time point? So like y'all got time points on the back end. What does the user see? Is that just a schedule?
Just the schedule.
So the schedule stays the same. Okay.
And I know that we have a new mobile app coming, but in our current mobile app, if you can plan out your trip and it'll actually take you to Google, and it'll tell you the times that it's coming, so you would still know even if you didn't go to our website to see it.
So time point has no effect on the actual end user knowing what time the bus is supposed to come?
No, because they still have other ways to, it's still going to build it out for you in that way for them to still be able to see what time the bus is coming. We did add time in all of our schedules, though, so that is one of the other minor changes that we did. We added time to the 3, the 5, the 6, the 17, the 23, the 25, the 40, the 45, and the 280. And that's just based on schedule misalignment. So we set a time for the bus to be here, but we find out, oh, it actually takes you a few more minutes to get there. So it's just giving them more time to make it, because it's not, just because we schedule it doesn't mean it actually takes them that amount of time because of just things that we can't necessarily control, like traffic.
So stated another way, this has a lot to do with adjusting the variables that impact on-time performance in line with what actually happens on the ground. So if you guys, well, when you guys implement these changes, on-time performance should improve because it's more aligned with what happens every day. Yeah.
Councilor Lewis, we can show you an example of like what the schedule looked like before, like even the 25 before we made these time point adjustments. So it makes it even easier and more friendly for the customers to read also. So it really helps improve what they, when they're trying to read the schedule, we want to make it as user friendly as possible. So it assists with helping with that also. And just real quick, in regards to how we're notifying the community, we will have a community meeting at the intermodal facility on October the 7th. We also set up informational tables inside of the intermodal facility, and we'll have them at our transit centers. As customers are riding, our team, customer experience team, will be notifying them about those changes. Social media, we will have this information also on social media. We've had very good meetings with several of the city councilors, and we still have meetings coming up. So any questions that you have in detail, we'll be more than happy to answer. So just let us know, and if there are any questions you have, we'll be more than happy to answer those questions.
All right. Thank you guys for the update.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next section of the meeting is going to be updates from our utilities. And first up, we have Alabama Power Company.
Good afternoon. Thank
Hi.
y'all for having us today. So currently, we don't have any major updates. I did contact our power delivery project managers. They did inform me that we do not have any new underground projects for the city of Birmingham for the duration of 2025. But I did want to summarize a request that I received from President O'Quinn's office early in the summer. Kim and I did a ride-along throughout your district to identify the broken poles, the down wires, and light outages. And I took all of those that we identified back to our power delivery team, and our engineers did clean up what belonged to us. Some of the broken poles were telecommunication poles. I communicated that with Kim, and we fixed all of the decorative LED lights along Parker High School. In addition to that, I provided a document to help our residential customers and commercial customers to report outages, to different situations to contact customer service, and to understand our vegetation services. So that's what I gave, I think, towards the end of July going into August. So if your customers or your constituents have any Alabama Power concerns, that's a layout of everything that they should have right at their fingertips, whether that's using an outage map, text alerts or just contacting customer service for arrangements and things of that nature.
Do you guys publish any information about your vegetation management schedules? Like, you know, is it possible for a customer to go onto the Alabama Power website to see when a vegetation management crew might be coming through their community?
No, it's not listed on the website, but the website will tell them what vegetation management is responsible for and what the customer is responsible for.
Okay. When those crews do come through, they provide notification to the residents in advance, right?
Yes, they will. If it's something scheduled, then they will contact the customers in advance.
Right, okay. Any questions, Councilor Woods? All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, and appreciate you guys addressing those overhead utilities issues.
You're welcome.
All right. Next up, we have Spire Energy.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
All right, so my name is Michelle Jones. I am the manager of our pipeline management department at Spire. Did y'all receive the packets?
Yes.
Okay, great. I wanted to touch base on 3 different things today. I wanted to go over our customer communication, our current ongoing projects, and then our upcoming projects. So to start off with our customer communication, as soon as one of our projects start, what we do is we do enhancing or upgrades to our facilities. We're replacing our old cast iron mains and bare steel mains with polyethylene, which is a type of plastic. What we do is we have an inspector that is designated for each project. Before construction actually starts, they go door to door to each one of those customers' homes and hang up door hangers. If the customer is home, they'll communicate with the customer, let them know what's going on. If the customer's not there, they will leave that door hanger. We also have automated phone calls that go out 2 weeks prior to construction. We also have a phone call sent out at the end of the construction, letting them know that construction is completed. We also have yard signs that we hang up at the beginning of subdivisions, as well as the entrances into subdivisions or streets where our trucks will be. Then on our next page, we also send out postcards that also informs the customer, say, hey, we have some upgrades coming. This is what's going on and expectations for those, any disruptions that will be caused from these enhancements that we have. We also have the water me signs. So a lot of times whenever we do dig in someone's yard, we do restore it back as best as possible, if not better than what it was. We'll put down grass, seed, and hay. We do have the water me signs because we do ask the customer to water that grass that was dug up, that we do have to put the sod or grass, seed, and hay down. If it's not successful, we can send out a Superior Scape, which is going to be one of our contractors to fix that landscaping, a professional landscaper out there, if we still have issues or customer complaints. All right, any questions on that before I move to the next topic? No? Okay. All right, so our ongoing project areas. We have 2 that have been ongoing. We did run into some budgetary constraints this past year, so we had to slow down some of our construction. 2 of the main areas is the Crestwood area and also the downtown or south of University Boulevard, the UAB, south of 5 Points areas. We have some crews going out there tomorrow to pick back up on construction, especially in that UAB area. And then October 1st, which is next week, we'll have all crews back out on those Crestwood areas and the remaining project areas in that UAB territory. So we will be out there next week, finishing those restorations, our final restorations. We know the slow and that budgetary constraint was not our normal process, and we understand it has caused some disruptions, especially to our customers and non-customers in the area. So we understand that, but we will be having our construction pick back up next week on those areas. Like I said, it's not our normal process. As our projects continue, we like to do temporary patchwork or temporary restoration as those projects continue. But at the very end of our projects, that's when we do that final sweep of restoration, including paving.
Right, I was going to bring that up. So I have gotten some inquiries from residents in the Crestwood area about the temporary patches.
Yep.
And I've informed them that, the project isn't complete yet, and, that we're not going to let you off the hook
Right.
with the temporary patches. That
Right.
the expectation is that when the work is finished, you'll come back and put a permanent patch.
Yes, yep, we will be out there doing that.
Right.
Especially that Crestwood subdivision. Like I said, we have a few more installations to do, not much, probably maybe a month, maybe 2 months tops worth of work there in that area. But yeah, we'll go back full with restoration and paving.
Okay.
Yep. All right, so the next, did you have a question? No? Okay.
Yeah, you can keep going if you got.
Okay. All right, the last topic I'm going to go over is our upcoming projects. We have a continuation, another phase of that project south of the 5 Points area near that UAB territory. That's just a continuation. As they finish and wrap up the projects they're currently on, they will roll right into that project. So expect to see that soon. Signs, phone calls, postcards, door hangers will go up for those areas. Then our other project areas, I'm assuming those, our best guesstimate on that would probably be the beginning of the 2026 year. Probably in January is when these are going to start. These next areas, they're south of the airport, all along Richard Arrington Jr. Boulevard. There's 2 phases, one north of it and one along Richard Arrington Boulevard. So those are our upcoming projects.
Do y'all typically do your own work or sub out?
We do have contractors out there. Our internal crews do have a hand in our tie-ins, our retirement of our old cast iron main, so they do come out there as well, but we do have contractors out there doing most of the work.
And I guess is y'all's project locations limited to what you've shared today?
For our replacement projects, yes, those are our upcoming 2026 projects. As far as repairs, like if we have any damages done or anything like that, that we will have crews in the Birmingham territory if there are any damages that we have to make repairs on. But those are our ongoing projects of replacements. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I believe I forwarded my contact information to Kim, I believe. So if y'all have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me.
All right. Thank
All right,
you.
thank you.
Appreciate it. Next up, we have Spectrum. We have anybody from Spectrum here? Jefferson County Sewer.
I am David Dennard. I'm Director of Environmental Services for the county. I've got some detailed information if you want to look at it at your leisure. Not a whole lot to just sort of follow along here. But just kind of summary of what we've got going on right now. We've got about a total of 22 projects that are currently ongoing in either all or partially in the city of Birmingham, totaling about $82 million. The vast majority of those are projects that are not sort of affecting citizens. 5 of those are a pump station projects, so they're very much defined site. 10 of those are rehabilitation projects, so most of all the work we're doing on our sewer lines is rehabilitation, which doesn't involve excavation. We'll set up at a manhole in the street or whatever, put a liner through the line, and that's typically like a half-a-day operation. So you can still maintain traffic through there. It's a little bit of disruption to driveways and service, but that typically only affects them residents for a very small period of time. A few inspection and cleaning contracts that we've got going on right now. And then really only a couple of like actual replacement contracts that actually involve digging up. One of those is the Aldott Carver Road project, which is almost complete. And then we've got a sort of system-wide replacement project. Those are just ongoing replacements that we do. Those are typically just a block or two, not terribly disruptive. A couple of projects that we do have ongoing, are most of those rehab projects. Cleburne Avenue is going to continue through most of the year. Vanderbilt Road, we'll be doing rehabilitation out there. A couple in projects we're going in Inslee, and then one in Martinwood out in the Roebuck area. So that's what we've got going on currently. For the next year, or for our next fiscal year, starting in October, we have planned 8 projects totaling about $43 million. Again, a couple of pump station projects, 2 rehabilitation projects, and probably the most significant, although it's not going to directly affect citizens, is we'll have about a $7.2 million project to replace sewer that's underneath the airport runway, the old 50th Street right-of-way that we took over from the city of Birmingham to the consent decree. We've still got a sewer running into there, so we'll do some work to divert that flow that's coming from north of the runway, Coca-Cola, not the new Coca-Cola facility, but the old Coca-Cola facility, and National Guard to send that. And so won't have that sewer under the runway anymore, make that easier to maintain. And then the other is another rehab project we're doing in the Center Street area. So that's it.
Great. Excellent. I see cleaning on here. That, typically is just a crew out at a manhole with a pump jet truck.
Yeah, with a jet washer. So they'll set up and they'll run that down to the next manhole and they'll reset up. Sometimes they'll run a couple of tangents, but yeah.
Okay, great. Well, very much appreciate the update and all of the information. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Let me ask you a question. Similar to, what we've talked about, talk about y'all's repair of the streets. What is y'all's process? Is that a temporary where you come back with something more permanent?
So our process is typically when we do an excavation, they will saw cut, and we typically will require that they do at least a lane width, sometimes a full width. So typically you won't see a very, couple of feet wide patch. We will saw cut 8-10 feet and typically at least half a roadway or the lane width. So again, we do have to do temporary. We'll have to come in and once we do the repair, put in soil, put in asphalt patch, and then let that settle a little bit. That's just sort of what you have to do to have an effective permanent patch. But then we'll keep maintaining that temporary patch until it's settled enough to do a permanent patch. And then we do hot mix. We don't do cold mix. At least our permanent patches are not cold mix either.
What's your typical time frame from work being completed to that final permanent patch?
I would say probably about a month. Probably depends on the size, sort of the size of the project and everything else, but probably about a month.
All right. Are you the best point of contact, or is there somebody else?
Yeah, I'm fine. If you have any concerns, questions come up, let me know.
Yeah, like a couple of these are I don't know, wreaking havoc might be strong a word or a phrase, but significantly impacting my area. Part of it is people, we had to do a lot of work to figure out who was doing it, because it's kind of unmarked, no notice, no explanation for what's happening. And some of y'all work is involved cutting into people's driveways and pretty deep, but just my main concern is making sure that we put stuff back, because a lot of our streets have been paved in the last 2 to 3 years. And so, we may have a street that has 6 or 7 locations that had to get dug up. And several of those are probably more than 30 days, but do just kind of want to make sure that we're able to get that done. So that's Huffman and Echo Highlands, which is, let's see which project.
Could possibly related to that Martinwood work that we're doing, maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah, like I said, I just want to make sure that there is a plan to kind of come back and resolve this. So, but no, I appreciate you coming. We'll kind of circle up as needed.
Yeah, if you got any areas of concern, let us know. We'll address them.
All right, thank you.
All right.
All right, thank you. Next up, we have the folks from Barge Design who are here with us.
Good afternoon. Thank you
Good
for letting me
afternoon.
join you today. And I know I'm up against the clock, so we're going to go really quick.
Yep.
My name is Janie Motter. I work for Barge Design Solutions. One of the main projects that we have going on right now with the city is to relieve flooding up at the Caldwell Park area. So it is actively under construction. We are doing the construction administration on it, the inspection. So that area has historically had a lot of flooding, so hopefully this project will relieve some of that flooding. So that is ongoing. Through the mayor's office, the Office of Public Information has been really active in getting flyers out to the community members, and they've had public involvement meetings. So I don't think there should be any questions from the public as far as what's going on out there. But that's really the only thing we've got. It started in May of this year, and it is expected to be complete in April of next year. So for the other projects that we have, they're not necessarily in the city, but they might bump up against the city. One of them is a roundabout at Grants Mill Road at Highway 119. That is adjacent to city right-of-way out towards Lake Purdy. So that one was, James Fowler gave us a letter of support for that, so it received ATRIP funding, so ALDOT is involved in that one as well.
Is that reworking that intersection there?
Yes, it will
Okay.
become a roundabout. The goal is to become a roundabout. Public involvement will start, I think, in this fall. So that one is just in the design phases.
Great. Yeah, that's a good improvement. That's a dangerous intersection.
It is. So they're going to realign where the new subdivision is and realign Grants Mill Road and make it a large roundabout. It should be really good.
Okay.
Another thing we've got going on right now is the regional connectivity study, and that is with Jefferson County and Shelby County, and that is for the Regional Planning Commission. So that is just a study to identify what additional opportunities we have to improve the connection between Jefferson County and Shelby County. Is it to have a new road or add a lane to an additional road, or is it a new intersection, or what all do we need to do there? And at this point, it's just a study. We have finished the first phase of that, and we're hoping the next phase will come in the fall. We have another one that is the Traffic Management Center for UAB. That one is currently on hold. We did the conceptual plan for that. Kelvin Blevins is our city contact for that. So we are waiting funding to move to the design phase for that project. And then lastly, we did the terminal apron a concrete paving rehabilitation out at the airport. So where the planes pull up to the gate and park, we did a rehabilitation of all that concrete up against all those gates. So that finished last month. So hopefully the next time you fly in and out, then it'll be a little smoother for you.
Great. I'm flying out tomorrow.
Yeah. That's all I got. Any questions?
What's the completion date for the Caldwell Park issue?
Caldwell Park should be complete in April of next year.
Okay, thank you. Was in the Highland Park area for a neighborhood meeting. I think that was last week. But anyway, the folks at Virginia Sanford Theater really appreciate that work, and looking forward to their building not flooding anymore. So
Yeah, they have been very vocal, and so we're hoping this helps solve that problem.
yeah, thank you.
Can you talk
Appreciate
about what you're doing in that project? Like, what exactly is the scope of work?
It is a 42-inch storm pipe in the road in 26th Street that we are replacing. So it must have collapsed. I don't really know the story behind what actually happened, but what we are doing is along 26th Street, replacing a 42-inch storm drain, and then cutting north or south into Caldwell Park, coming all the way up. So the park is going to be torn up a good bit too, coming all the way through the park from there, but replacing a very large storm drain.
So replacing it and running a new line?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Councilor Woods, we got another meeting coming in here, so Yeah, so we're going to call for adjournment.